Okay, so here we go. Next topic. Now, I did this status update because somebody I was speaking to at the time, a guy I was speaking to at the time, online, had told me that he was dreaming about me. And I was kind of like, well, why the hell are you doing that when you just had a baby with somebody, okay? Like, that baby is probably still on breast milk. So why are you dreaming about me and not your baby mother? Which kind of perturbed me, because I'm a little bit sick and tired of men being with women and not wanting to be with them, but with everybody else, and making an attempt to be with everybody else instead of that woman. So how about you just end that relationship and move the fuck on? Which isn't really a relationship to begin with, because you're whoring yourself, essentially. And yes, I am a firm believer that men can be whores, okay? If your penis is going into every hole that opens, okay, or is wet, you're a whore. So it kind of put me off. So and he advised me that they weren't together anymore. So he wasn't the only person that had that same circumstance where, you know, had a kid with somebody and then two-twos, boops, they're not together. Now, I understand that, you know, a lot of times, you know, people who have these children aren't ready to. So, you know, some of these men get scared or cowardly or whatever bullshit scapegoat excuse you want to give these little deadbeat fuckers, and they split. And then we have the females who have these children and aren't ready to give up the party life and going out and sexing down the place, so these children are neglected. And I understand that. And I understand that sometimes, you know, some women go through postpartum depression, so they can be emotional and you know, imbalanced with their emotions and stuff like that. And that can cause, you know, problems and issues in relationships. And I understand all that. All of that is understandable. You know, I'm not trying to act like the reasons for these things happening aren't understandable and aren't there and aren't valid. I understand all that. My thing is just this, is I've noticed an increasing trend of this happening where people have children together and then two-twos, they want nothing to do with each other. And ultimately, the child becomes the little pawn in the middle of this little game, and that's where the problem lies, is this child is not, you know, being brought up in a stable family, shall we call it. Not that that makes or breaks a person. I personally wasn't brought up in a family household, or I guess some people may want to say came from a broken home, etc., because I was raised in a single parent home, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't make you a better or worse person. You turn out how you turn out based on your individual life experiences, which also has, you know, the type of home you're raised in, yes, is a contributing factor, so I'm not going to say it isn't. However, it's not the making or breaking factor. So I was just wondering why this is such a trend. So if you happen to be somebody in that circumstance who is in a relationship, recently had a child, and that relationship has now dissolved as of the birth of that child, then maybe we should kind of comment, or maybe you should comment and let us know why that happened, so we can kind of, you know, based on, it would obviously be a small survey pool, but, you know, just so we can kind of get a gist or an idea as to what exactly happened, so we know why this is such an increasing trend. Because it's like, if you don't see yourself with that person long term, then perhaps you shouldn't be having unprotected sex with them, and perhaps you shouldn't be having a child with them, and perhaps you should be taking preventative measures. Now, with that being said, somebody commented on my status. Who is it? I believe it was Frank Castle. Yes, and he went off and he said, have you ever considered that maybe the reason for the breakup was the child? Did you know that when you have a child, you have no life? You give up everything around you, like your friends, social life, your drinking, your smoking. You give up everything for this child. And most people aren't ready. Some people get jealous of their child within the first few months of life, but don't do anything about that. But you don't know anything about that. Everyone's so quick to cast judgment upon people, but half the people making comments are single parents. No Bertupsy. Now, I combated everything he said there, because number one, I understand that the child could be the reason for the breakup. I never said that wasn't a possibility. I'm asking, why is this now becoming such a popular trend? Why is having these children and breaking up the new handbag of 2009? That's unacceptable. And there should be no question or no problem in me, or anybody else for that matter, questioning that disturbing trend, because what is that teaching the children of today? Oh, don't worry about relationships and stuff like that, because that's not normal. Having a normal family, or I shouldn't even say normal, having a family or a two-parent household is not normal. That's what it's teaching them. So, you know, I think we need to address it. How can you change something if you don't acknowledge it? Then, his next comment, which just, like, I absolutely have to shoot that comment to shit. I'm sorry. When you have a child, you have no life. I know there's a lot of people on my Facebook with children. I know there is. And if anything, your quality of life increases. Please comment and let me know if you agree or disagree. Did your quality of life improve based off of having a child? Are you happier now? Do you feel more fulfilled? Do you feel more purposeful in your life? Or do you feel like you have no life and all of a sudden you want to socialize? That's not the case. You don't have no life. Okay, you choose to have no life when you have a child and you end up having no life. You make that choice to stay hoarded in your house with your child, not socializing, because there's things out there to do. There's all kinds of mom and tot salsa classes at community centers. There's baby reading groups. There's all kinds of things to do. There's 1,000,001 things to do, and meet people who also have children, which will then prompt you guys to go out and do things with your children, thus giving you a life. So you have a life. Okay, that's not true. I still go out and have a good time and enjoy myself. I can still pick up and go to the movies. I can go to clubs. I can drink if I want to. I can smoke if I want to. None of those things ended. I didn't end my chances of getting a career because I had a child. No. When I had my son, before I had him, I finished high school. After I had him, I went to college, finished college, got my job, and now I'm working. So how do I not have a life? If you have no life, that's a choice you choose to make, to have no life, whether you have no life with children or you have no life without children. So I think that statement was like vast ignorance. And I'm sorry, Frank Castle, if that comes across as offensive, but frankly, that's what that comment is. And Sarah Palin's daughter went and did some stupid media speech and talked about, oh, how it's so difficult having a baby and being a teen, and you have no life in that. And I think that was such a negative and disgusting message to put out to young girls. Because you know what? I feel like as though that now will prompt some of these girls, especially in places where, whether you agree with it or not, where abortions aren't readily available, or certain places where healthcare is not public, okay? These girls will now be going, like, you hear about those couples where the boyfriend's jumping up and down on the girl's stomach to try and give her, a homemade abortion or whatever the case may be, because they're scared that they'll, quote, have no life. Come on. Like, come on. And number two, I wasn't casting judgment on anybody. I simply asked a question. Why is it such a beginning? Why is this trend beginning to grow so much of people having these children and breaking up and despising the person they had the kid with? It's like this. I have a kid with my son's father. He's a deadbeat. He's a loser. Do I hate him? No. Do I have time to hate him? No. Do I have time to put the effort into hating him? No. None of the above. So it's a waste of time to go back and forth and nitpick and fight and argue and call and cuss and then hang up and then storm over, and no. None of that's necessary. None of that's whatsoever necessary. I deal with my son if I need to, and that's about it. So, yeah. It was just a question. It was just a question. So let's discuss it. Please subscribe to my channel, because I have to remember to do this at the end of every video, which I'm not remembering to do. But so please go on my channel, click subscribe, add me as a friend, leave channel comments, comment on the video. What do you think? Do you think this is a trend that's growing nowadays? Do you think everybody for 2009 and upcoming 2010 is trying to have a baby as a new handbag with, like, you know, a baby mother or a baby father on the side? Like, what is it? What do you guys think of this is? Because that's what I think it is. And I think it's really sad, and I think it needs to change. And let's not have the mentality that you have no life once you have a kid, because that's a crock of shit.